our YouTube channel. We've got our DTItrader.com/telegram to get you on board there to get T-Buzz TV. So that's a pretty good place to go. But I think we find it very interesting when you're looking at a market and you're sitting here saying to yourself, okay, what can I do and how can I maybe make some money while other people are not looking at it? You know, market's a 24-hour market. You know, that's the bottom line. You know, and, you know, we find it interesting when we do that. Let me get, while Adam's getting slides set up, let me give everybody a couple administrative things. Number one, Apple, if you got an Apple iPhone, I'm trying to get this number out to everybody. I found that after all these years, if you need help with your iPhone for anything, you can call this number. It's 1-800-275-2273. 1-800-275-2273. Let me verify that's the right number I just gave you. I had it written here. I think that's what it is. Okay. Apple, and verify that number. I mean, that is so valuable. Yeah. 1-800-275-2273. You know, I forget things at Apple, like my passcode and all that stuff. You can call there, they'll help you. Okay. And it's pretty neat. It's phone support. That's number one. Number two, we have what I call a very expensive document. It took years to build. It's called the white papers at DTI. You ought to get a copy of that and just keep a copy, print it off, and keep that to review, because you'll hear a lot, but everything is tied into those white papers. Also, if you haven't got my first book, second or third book, I would encourage you to listen to the audio version. Today's a good time to do it, and we'll give that to you. The audio, Winning a Day Trading Game. It sort of tells you where I come from and how I got here. And I think it's still as viable today as it was when I wrote it back in 2005. The second book, The Markets Never Sleep, is really more relevant today than it has been in 15 years, because I was there expecting what you're seeing today. You know, we have 24-hour trading. And here's something else you need to know. Today, the futures market indexes will close at 1 and reopen tonight at 6. The energy markets will go to 230 today. Energy and crude oil will go to 230. That's very important to know these things. And here's probably the most important thing I can tell you. Stocks tonight open at 8 o'clock. Here's the problem with the good to cancel trading overnight. You can't short stocks. So there's two stocks I'm going to give you that if you don't have a futures account, it's not my first choice, but here they are. SQQQ, you can get in it tonight. SQQQ, or TLT, you can get in that tonight, or GLD. So you got 3 plays there if the market gets haywire to go to if you don't have a futures account. Not my first choices on any of those, but you should see a rally in gold at some point. You should see TLT, a flight to quality there. Oh, and you can do the VIX futures if you got a VIX futures, and that is VX/VX. So today's presentation is to prep you and make you think ahead, because it's if you see something tonight that says the following: the U.S. just dropped their big bomb, and the market's going to go crazy. You need to be aware of that. The most likely time for that to occur will be somewhere between 6 and 9 o'clock tonight, I think, based on some experience that I have. Okay. Todd just reported. I hope everybody sees this. Todd reported. He listened to my message last night. He's up $760 on his futures account. Way to go, Todd. Okay. And Jan, you can use that. I don't trade it, but you can. She's talking about S&P. I think the best thing is the ones I gave you. You don't have a futures account. Way to go, Todd. Let's give Todd a hand for listening, educating himself, and taking advantage of what I do. That's wonderful. Now, the reason I'm going to focus on crude oil, I think tonight might be the start of the trade of the year. Not to go up, but to go down. And I'm going to give you some numbers today that you can use to judge that statement in this presentation. I'm a former Air Force officer, active trader since the 70s. I used to be a member of the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, largest futures chain in the world. And I have 3 books, and I work with a lot of students over the years. Now, I would advise you tonight, turn Bloomberg on and leave Bloomberg with the sound off. You don't want to listen to what they say, but they've got some good information they post there. They still do that, okay? That would be my advice tonight. Okay, any questions about what I just covered? At DTI, we help you master the markets through education, training, and experience. In my opinion, last night, futures first, I said markets are falling, oil rising. That's $1 on oil. If you had bought oil, that's quite a trade. And you saw some of the people that took advantage of that over on the E-minute. Pretty good stuff. That's real good stuff, matter of fact. Last night in futures first. I followed up this morning. It lost 20 points overnight. Oil rose 0.5%. Using that 60-30 pivot, we haven't been back there. We're still short. And I used the title, Winds of War. The reason I use that title, a little background there was a mini series that starred Robert Mitchum and Ali McGraw back in the 80s. I always think about that anytime we're like at this stage, Winds of War, okay? The second part of that series was War and Remembrance. So hopefully I'll get to be using that term pretty soon, okay? Winds of War, that's what's going on. You can tell that by the people leaving to run. The Seven Sisters is how we start every look at the market. E-mini comes into the day slightly positive. NASDAQ's up about 2%. Dow is still negative and even more negative now. DAX is trading. It's up 17%. Gold is up 28%. I think you'll see some higher prices there. Crude is up 4%. This is what I'm talking about. I'm going to give you the numbers on crude, how to map out a great trade on crude. Crude affects everything. Bonds are flat for the year. I expect bonds to go up in price. The question we asked, which of the Seven Sisters is heading higher and which is heading lower? Right now, the indexes are heading lower. Crude is heading higher. Gold is neutral. Bonds are neutral. So that's the setup going into the night. My focus today is on crude oil. And write these numbers down on crude oil. The high of the last 24 hours is $75.09. Write that number down. $75.09. The real high that you got to worry about if you're short crude is $77.71. Now, I'm not advocating going short crude right now. What I'm advocating is know the playing field. This is the August contract. 71.89. If it breaks 71.89, you've got a heck of a trade as it goes lower and lower and lower. Write that number down. $71.89 on crude. It opened at 72.96, which means it'd have to drop $2 to get to the opening price. But here's what I'm looking for. On the announcement, if crude does not take out the high of 77.71 and reverses, it starts breaking lower, I'll use MTI, obviously. Breaking, I'll use the reference bars, obviously. But the real number, if it breaks today's open and after going up there and failing, it's the day it starts out with a probe at 72.96 and then gets even better if it drops 71.33 and then you're off and running. Everybody understand what I've done? I've laid out a numbers, unbiased, for you to use if the U.S. starts participating tonight. Everybody got that? The problem, Barry, you can't trade USO short. You can't trade anything in crude short tonight. That's the problem. You're going to have to be thinking, making your money elsewhere, unless you've got a futures account. Okay? Everybody understand that? And the symbol for futures is /CL on Thinkorswim. Okay? The numbers I covered, if the U.S. participates in taking out Iran's nuclear site, okay? Everybody see that? 77.71 is a number that if it stays below, it sets up a short in crude. If crude rallies and reverses below today's low, that will be a clear sell signal. Today's low on crude is 72.83. Write that number down, 72.83. Here's the map. 77.71 high level. Today's open 72.96. Right now it's going higher. I'm not short crude. Today's low 72.63. If it breaks 71.89, hold me back. All this could develop real quick, so you have to know the numbers in advance. Does everybody understand having a plan? I've never traded that, but I'll look at it. PJ says ProShares short Bloomberg crude oil SCO. Let me check it out, see if it trades 24 hours. That's what you got to check out. Hold on. SCO. See, I learned things from you too. Oh, it trades overnight. So there you go, SCO. Yeah, the micro, they'll let you trade. And the micro contract is /MCL. That's 1/10 the size of the big. No, David, what I'm saying is that's a key number, okay? That's a key number. Everybody understand that? That's a key number. I'm laying out a grain of what I'm doing is, okay? What I'm doing is laying out what I would say is a way for you to make money off this news. Christian asked, Tom, why not favor crude short when crude only went up since the beginning of the open conflict? Because if you look at my track record in crude this year, I think I've made 15 trades in it, all of them successful. I'm going to stay with what I do, Christian. The main trend's down this year. I'm looking at a big picture, and I think we'll see lower prices the second half of the idea. That's why I do what I do. In fact, I didn't mention the last couple months, the accuracy rate, 92% in May, and I've got 100% accurate so far in June. So maybe I might know what I'm talking about. Would you say? Yeah, it's something that you do when you really need to watch it. Okay. Anyway, I'm looking for the big opportunity, and I think the big opportunity is tonight if we have the action. Okay. All the messaging from Trump right now, okay? He's laying the ground stake. He's already done the approval. All he's got to do is say it's time to go, okay? This is the education you're getting with me at these key times in the world. So what would you do if you had an opportunity to learn more? I've given you more this morning than most people could give you in 20 hours of study. I've given you actual data that allows you to do what? What does it do knowing what I'm telling you? It teaches you the process of making money is what it's teaching. Now, so how would I play it? Crude falls below these levels. I'll look at crude futures, options, debit, put spreads on it because the volatility is too great. That's the way to do it. Okay? That's what I'll do. Crude falls below these levels. I'll be looking at crude future options, debit, put spread. Now, insight for trading during the market turmoil. Use limit orders. You've got to use limit orders. You can't go in at market orders in these markets. You got to have patience and wait for the setup. That's the reference bars. That's why I gave you the white papers at the beginning of this presentation. Remember, the most likely time we'll see the market move is after 8 to 9. That's my guess. It could happen earlier, but that's my guess, most likely, if it does. Right now, you're seeing the prep of professional traders getting in front of news coming out. That's why we got short last night, and we're looking like king of the hill because I anticipate what these pros are going to do to the retail. Okay, watch MTI is right, Susan. The best thing you can use as we get started. So far in our Futures First Education Telegram channel, this morning we talked about how the E-mini is declining. Since that time, the E-mini has dropped another 30 points. I say that's worthy of understanding and educating yourself to see these kind of moments. It's anticipating the news. That's what we're doing. Crude has risen about 1% from the start of today's trading, which is normally the setup that leads to a great trade. Everything you trade in futures today counts as Friday's close. So if you put a position on this morning, it's still a day trade if you get out tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Everybody understand that? That's the way the mechanics of crude work on a holiday. I also told people it would be good to put on their iPhone, if they got one, the world clock. That way you can look at your iPhone and say, well, what time is it in Tel Aviv? And you go there to the iPhone and you say, what time is it? Do you think it's most likely to occur in daylight, or do you think it's most likely to occur at night? I personally believe most likely to occur at night. Doesn't have to. That's the way I believe it would happen. So you need to know the current time in Tel Aviv, okay? And to do that, you go to your iPhone and you put in clock and you say, well, what time is it right now? It's 5:23 in the afternoon. That's something you need to know. Everybody got that? So now you got the local time. So I guess from here to there, starting to get dark. Maybe a couple more hours. I think that's useful information. Beware, working orders will not cancel as this is a continuous session. So if you put an order in for the day, okay, if you put an order in for the day, it's still going to be working tomorrow. Stocks open for Friday's trading tonight at 8. We've talked about that. You need to know that information. Now, I have upcoming small classes. We've just finished Sawgrass. We've got 28 or 30, probably 31 now, I would guess. But if you look at the future schedule, the class in October or July, I have one seat that opened up that was sold out. So if anybody wants to advance their training, they can come there. I got futures class in August, a futures class. This is where I have small classes. Okay. I have a October futures class, 3 seats left in October. Advanced class there in October 13th and 14th, and a futures class December 8th and 9th. So we've got a packed schedule to finish out the year. That's what you got to deal with. Let's talk futures first. This is a program I generated. There's risk involved in trading, the CFTC. Risk disclaimers right there. You ought to read it. I built my career trading futures. It was my bread and butter for years. I actually retired after I got rid of my brokerage firm. I founded DTI to teach other traders how to do it. Wearing all those hats was wearing me out, so I stepped away from futures. I considered myself retired. And about 2 years ago, a doctor that I knew came to one of my classes and said, Tom, I'm having to work during the day. I know you could teach me to trade futures. I said to him, I don't want to teach it anymore. He said, he stayed on me to do it. I said, if you get 10 people at this conference to do it, I'll do it. Okay? That's what I said. He said he heard stories of me helping a lot of other traders. I got a lot of them here today. They'll tell you when it comes to futures education, maybe I'm your guy. Now, honestly, I feel like I'm pretty qualified to do it after trading it, living it, and breathing it for 40 plus years. Open up that first futures class. I got excited. Then I decided to build a new curriculum. I had one in the past, but I updated it with the micros, with options, all that stuff. And we've been teaching it every Monday night, and we're going forward. We always talk about all things futures on Monday night at 7 o'clock. We make it simple. We tape it in case you can't be there. Here's a list of all the classes we've held so far, the different courses. The one I would focus on, if you're a member, is using futures options to trade the E-mini. You can use those tonight. How to trade gold options, you can use that tonight. How to find my daily pivot, that will be announced tonight. The simplicity of using spreads to trade futures options, and then crude oil options. You got time to read all the stuff and do it before tonight if you want to join me. Okay? I came back, reviewed, had some finer points about trading futures, but you can see the big 7 sisters are there. I sort of recommend, if you're new to futures, to use the Tasty Trade bracket order. And if you need a referral, we'll give you a referral link there to get you through the process. Most recently, I've introduced currency futures. I wanted to get into currencies. I think there's 2 great trades in the Japanese yen and the euro this year. A core curriculum for trading futures, but I'm just getting started as I keep teaching, updating, and making sure people learn what they need to learn as we go through the different quarters of the year. The euro currency is what we talked about this week. Here's what's important for everyone to remember today. I call it futures first because, in my opinion, understanding futures is gateway to the rest of the market. You have to say, how does Tom have a 92% accuracy rate in May, and then in June he's got 100% accuracy rate? I go to futures first. That's why every day I give you a pivot number that tells you what I think the market's doing relative to that pivot number, up or down. It sets up the day. Pretty cool stuff. They're ongoing, continually expanding. This is a bargain of the century, being part of it. The training on Monday night is at 7. We post insights through our Telegram channel throughout the week at key times. Go to dtitrader.com/futures. Or if you got any questions, call 904-706-3532. Once you check your email, get in that room. Get in that Futures First Telegram channel. Okay? This is what we do. Rob or Bob, go watch the tape. Everything's explained about every ways to trade these different markets in those lessons. Go to dtitrader.com/futures, call 904-706-3532. Folks, I want to give you enough time to get in, watch the lessons. I've told you what I think. I didn't hold anything back. I gave you the numbers. If you wrote down the numbers and you don't have a futures account, you'll have a roadmap, okay? To see how this is going to develop and what it's going to do. Any questions about what I've covered today? Make sure you get in the Telegram channel. I'll look for those that join and make sure you're in there. And then tonight, if action happens, you'll get a series of insights what to do. Straightforward. This is it, folks. Adam, are we still offering 3 levels of membership? I meant to ask.
Don, let me check on that right now. This is Jonathan. Yeah, sure looks like it. 3 levels.
Okay. The 3 levels are still up. So take a look, get part of it. Let's make it happen. John, they're posted in the Telegram room, right, Jonathan? The past lessons, or do they get an email with them?
They are. Yeah, they are posted in the Telegram channel, and I'll go ahead and post them again in about an hour's time for folks that joined this morning. They'll give them a chance to get into the Telegram channel.
Okay.
That recording posting in about.
Well, Jonathan says he'll post it today. Pretty cool. If you want to learn futures, if you want to learn it the right way, I think I'm your guy. And the reason I say that, okay, keep Bloomberg up with the sound off and do it. Yeah, the small classes. If you join the small classes, I give you a year online also. So we didn't say that, but I do. So if you set up to come to a small class, you get a year online. It's going to be a big night, folks. I will be working tonight. I hope you're there with us to take advantage of what I would call a tremendous way to educate yourself and see it happen first in real time. Nothing like it. Well, everybody else is sleeping, doesn't know all this is going on. I'm teaching you to pay attention around the clock. Wouldn't it be nice? Let's just say the market, let's just hypothetically say the market sells off in Asia up to Europe, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then it reverses. Most people will see the market down at that time, right? I mean, heck, it's down what, 50 S&P points right now? 50 S&P points it's down. That's huge. Most people, Neil, join futures, and I will guide you tonight. I'll look at some other opportunities for you for those that join, okay? But get joined in futures. A lot of great questions. Don't be without futures the next time by joining the night. Know what to do. How many people like getting the Wall Street Journal 3 days early? I always said this. How many people like that? If you learn futures the way I teach it, it's like reading the Wall Street Journal 3 days early. I've been saying that for years, and I got drugged back into teaching it. I enjoy it. The small classes are off the charts, especially when you have to combine it online. Any other questions anybody has? Now, let me just say something. After the action, this should be a tremendous opportunity going the other way. I'll help you with that timing also, okay? Everybody understand what I'm saying? There's a roadmap after tonight I will release of what happens to look for the reversal. That's invaluable to people, having these numbers. Yeah, you need to go to your broker and ask them the question, and they'll give you the video to watch, Astro, okay? That's the easiest way to get your answer. Since I've been talking, crude has made a new high, 75.15, 18. Remember what I said? It's about 6 o'clock now over in Tel Aviv, right? Does anybody know what time it gets dark over there? Be curious to know that, answer that question. Because I think that with the market trading here, things might be in process. Just say it. Feels like it anyway. We'll see. Better to be prepared than not prepared, the way I say it. Well, I appreciate everybody being here today. I know you took time out to be here. I hope you got some information that will help you. Those that did join futures, I'll see you tonight. Or if something happens this afternoon, I'll start putting word or insights into the Telegram channel. Yes, I do expect it to accelerate. Sunset is 7:49. Okay. Is that our time or their time? Barry, if you got a long position in the SPY, do you have a futures account? Don't be in that position never again. Get in this futures and learn. See, that's Barry, just the classic issue that people face. He's long the SPY, right? And he can't get into the SPY until 8 o'clock tonight. A lot can happen from last night at 8, right, to today at 8. In that 24-hour period, you've got a decline of over 1.5%. And you can't do anything about it. That's why you need a futures account. Always hedge it. You always hedge things. Yes, I am short. I am personally short the E-mini. And just, I gave a pivot number of 60-30. What does it mean to be below the pivot number, Rob? What do I think's happening or sees happening when I'm below the pivot, especially when I got a red arrow on MTI? What does that mean? Market's going to go down. Where am I wrong? Going higher than where MTI did. Yeah. So the pivot number is so valuable every day. I give it to everybody for free. That's why when I say, people, what do you think about market timing? They always give me a 10. Nobody does that every day to give you the exact number to tell you whether it's going to be an up or down movement. That's so valuable if you use it. You got to use it though. Having it and not using it is like somebody putting a piece of cake in front of you and saying, I don't want to eat it. Folks, y'all have a great day. I'm going to wrap it up right now. Thanks for coming again. And like I always say, I'll see you on the flip side. Flip side happens tonight, folks.